My name is Anupam Nath, and I work in the developer program at Sony Mobile. And I'm here to talk about a lot of developer opportunities with our Sony SmartWatch ecosystem. So starting with the audience that we have today, do we have any mobile developers today? Okay. So, how many of you know Sony SmartWatch? Have you been to the Sony booth in the Central Hall? Been? Okay. Okay. So, Sony SmartWatch is basically a smart companion to the smartphone. And what it helps you do is, as a consumer, you can get all your Facebook messages, your Twitter messages, your email, SMS, notifications, everything on the watch. So without even opening your phone, you can see all those messages. And probably if you have an already written reply, you can reply to them. And not just that, you can also control certain hardwares in it. So you can probably open your camera app from the watch itself and take a picture. So rather than doing this to take a picture of yourself, you can just keep it on a tripod or an iPad and just remotely have a preview on the watch and take a picture with it. So that's one of the ways you can control hardware on your phone using the watch. Another way would be that you have a Bluetooth headset and you can change the tracks on the Sony SmartWatch. So there are a lot of more usages and applications being developed for this. First of all, you can pocket it, store it, bag it. You can put your phone anywhere you want and then use the smartwatch to basically interact with it. Not only that, it also saves you battery because it's a smaller screen and it only works with a Bluetooth with your phone. So it actually saves you battery on your device, on your main device, which is already battery is a huge problem in smartphones. So we created a lot of buzz with smartwatch. We launched it last year, and we have been covered with many different news agencies and major blogs. And there are rumors that some of the competitors might be coming up with another one this year. So we are well ahead of them in this game. So what does it have for a developer in it? So first of all, Sony SmartWatch has right now 150 plus extensions in Google Play. And with respect to the development effort required to get an extension made and uploaded to Google Play, it's a really small effort with respect to the amount of reach that you would have with the watch. Because there are so less extensions right now, it's a huge opportunity for developers who seem to have issues with app discovery in Google Play stores and other stores. So this is one of the key things in this because I see a lot of applications. I've been an Android developer myself previously, and I see a lot of applications they just are not able to show up on the store list because people don't search for them anymore. So this is with respect to the effort, I did my first extension in 4 hours, in flat 4 hours, from the time that I saw the documentation and I started reading it and ended up with an extension. So that's a huge advantage about this. Another thing is that we are using extensions to be found on the phone hardware itself. And so you could directly get, so Smart Connect is an application, is a hub on the device, which actually helps you find these extensions on the device which has the smartwatch links to it. So I'll talk more about it, how we do that in an app discovery. So yes, so what exactly is a smartwatch? What is there in the hardware? So it has a 1.3-inch OLED, 128 into 128 pixels. It's a multi-touch display. It's a touch screen. It has basically an accelerometer and a vibrator, and a battery life of 4 days. So we recently actually did an update to the software, and there were So earlier we couldn't give the time. There are two versions to the software now, and the earlier version wouldn't show the time right away when you would see at the watch. So we gave another version, and although that reduced the battery life of the watch, but it still is about 2 days. So it's a really good battery life considering what you can achieve with just with the watch itself. And the brain, the host applications are in the brain where all the extensions reside. That is your phone. So all the applications that you would see on the watch are actually running on the device itself. So watch is basically a second screen to your device, in a sense. And so there are a lot of ways that extensions can be created for the watch. The basic 3 types of applications that we normally see are that there is already an application for in the Google Play, and they want to extend it. Saying Endomondo. Endomondo, many people use Endomondo in their regular life, and when they are out there running, they tend to take their phone out a lot of times and just check, okay, how many miles did I run today? That is one of the key applications that tells you the information on the go. So our consumers are mostly people who are really very busy with the life and don't have really that much patience or time to take out the phone all the time and check the notifications. And thinking about that, Endomondo did an extension, and that has really helped them, with the smartwatch user specifically. It's really a favorite application. Another thing is bring the functionality. Bring the functionality is basically you already have the functionality in the phone, like making calls. If you have some favorite people that you make calls to on a regular basis, we have an extension that has all your favorite people listed on your watch, so you can call them immediately. And this is one application that is also, it's extending the functionality of the current application, but it's also very useful to the people who don't like the complexity of phone's user interface. Like old people, they could have a watch on their hand and make a call instantly. So, and standalone smartwatches. Smartwatch apps, so the example here would be especially the 9-tile games which are available for the smartwatch. That is one of the ways that developers have shown how innovative they can get with it. But there are other applications. I've seen a Google Maps application recently on the smartwatch where a person moving around in the street doesn't have to take their phone out of their pocket all the time and see, have I reached the right place where I want to be. So directions would be another thing I would like to see more applications on for the smartwatch on. So talking about the APIs here, as I said, it's really very less effort needed to create applications for the smartwatch. There are only 4 basic APIs that you need to control all the hardware on that watch. And these are notification, widget, control, and sensor. So what does exactly notification API do is, as I told you, it gets all the notifications from your phone to your watch. And that's pretty much it. That's the API. What it does is that if you extend a currently available app on the phone, it will get all the notifications from that application to the watch. Widget API. Widget API is very similar to the Android widget API, which is the Android widgets which are present on the home screen. And it is used to make user interfaces and on the watch. And since it's very similar, the learning curve for the developers is very low. And you could make a multi-screen app with it, extending more screens, and you can have a swipe function on the screen to go from one screen to another. There are many more ways of interacting with the screen. Since it's a multi-touch screen, you can have double tap, you can have 2 fingers on the screen. Widget API supports all that. Control API basically helps you control all the hardware present on the watch. That is the screen state. You could keep the screen state on if your application requires to. You can also use the vibrator on the watch, which is a very helpful feedback mechanism for many applications on the watch. Another useful thing about control is that you can send the control back to the phone where a user is interacting with the phone, but he gets, he can play around with getting control, keeping control on the phone or the watch. So you would understand more if you open the API open and see the API exactly what it helps you to control. It helps you to control the whole hardware of smartwatch, either from the smartwatch or from the phone. Sensor API helps you get the accelerometer data. So it will give you the X, Y, Z. It's a 3-axis accelerometer. So now we come down to the smartwatch components. What exactly makes the smartwatch the Smart Connect is a hub for all the smart devices connected to your phone. It helps you add a new smartwatch, connect to it, find applications for it. It can also help you to change settings on the watch, maybe a always on mode or always off mode, just tap mode. So there are various, also helps you update the software on the smartwatch from the phone itself. So you don't need to connect your watch to any wires in order to update the software on the watch. It does it automatically over the air. Host application. Host application is a device-specific application. This is one example where the smartwatch host application directly takes care of the communication via all the extensions that the developers would create. So host application, the main thing that it does is that it helps extensions communicate with the device. Extensions are either third-party or already present in the software piece of apps which are helping provide the functionality onto the smartwatch screen. So extensions run on the phone. They can be either an APK format or either be a part of an APK or be a separate APK in itself. So extensions can be are basically all the icons that you see on the smartwatch are extensions. So this is the software part of it. Smart Extensions directly communicates with the Smart Connect and the smartwatch host application. And smartwatch host application is responsible for the communication over the Bluetooth. But when I say smart accessories, what do I mean by that? This is one part of the accessory ecosystem. But another part is that we have a Smart Headset Wireless Pro, which is a Bluetooth-based headset, which also has a small monochrome screen on it. And all the extensions that you make for the watch can also be compatible with this Bluetooth headset. So the ecosystem doesn't only end at the watch. You could have various extensions created which don't need much modification if you do it right. The same extension that you use for the watch can be used for the headset. The only difference would be that interactivity would be different because the headset doesn't have the touchscreen. So going a bit deeper into the widget API, it is, as I said before, it's very comparable to app widgets on an Android device. And you could also get all the touch events from the watch, either swipe or tap. Those events can be given back to the device. So Control API. Control API helps you control the entire screen on the watch. And when I say entire screen, you might ask that what is the difference between widget API, where I'm also getting in the widget API, the swipe actions are only limited to the application screen, not the notification screen on the top. So, but in a control API, you can get the control of the whole screen itself. You can also keep it on or keep it off or make it auto unless there is a notification, it won't come up. So another control would be vibrator. You can control the feedback the vibrator gives on notifications or on maybe a swipe feedback or a tap feedback. So I recently saw one of the camera applications for the smartwatch where it shows the preview, and there are parts of the sometimes it's like camera application would need the whole screen to be controlled in order to show the preview because camera would be constantly moving. But other applications such as maybe call applications, they don't need that much changes in the application interface itself all the time to communicate with the phone. So on a full, if you do full screen updates, it would provide you about 6 to 7 FPS on the smartwatch. But if you give only send partial updates, it will be much better frame rate. And I've seen like 30 frames per second if you can do it right. But I would not go deep into it. But it's something that developers have to be very responsible while designing the interface about it, because it might be an issue with the frame rates if you give full updates to the screen. And yeah, getting touch events and take action. As I mentioned before, you could get all the touch events from the control API also. These are exactly the same touch events that an Android touchscreen gives. So sensor API. So it has an accelerometer. It's basically a 3-axis accelerometer, and it's the same format as the Android. So it gives you the data in the same format, which is again considering that developers have a huge learning curve in most of the new products that they have to develop for. We made sure that we have most of our data in the same format as Android. And local socket is the method that the way we send the data. So how can you start developing for it? So we have a smart extension SDK which you can download from sonymobile.com/developer. And excuse me. And Sony Xperia extensions, that's the EDK version is 2.0, which is currently available. And I would really recommend you guys, if you are into mobile development, it's a really sleek SDK to start with. As I mentioned, we have made sure that a learning curve for the developers is really less, and Android developers will be able to pick it up very easily. So here are the components which we have on the extension SDK. You have a sample code. There are actually 6 samples on it, and most of them are ready to you just import it and just run it for the first time. We also have an emulator, so you can test it on you don't have to have an actual device to test your applications. You can test it on the emulator itself. And the emulator actually runs on the phone, so you would still be able to interact with it. It would not be a slower emulator which is on the Android. I know many people face issues with that. And we have white papers for the watch itself. You can get all the hardware info and a getting started document. So SDK sample code, there are all types of extensions in the sample. We have example of all the 4 APIs. You can get the interface info, how to get the touch events, how to get the control API data, how to get sensor data, and also use vibrator. So we have all of those APIs covered in the sample codes. And we also open source 2 of our applications, which is one of them is a music player extension and 8-puzzle game. So music player extension basically helps you, the functionality that I was telling that you go from one track to another without even opening your phone, and that's the music player extension, and that actually is tapping into the Android application, which is already there in the system. So it's a really nice app to look into to get started with. And then 8-puzzle game is the game. You can also look into that open source. So app discovery. I see a lot of problems with app discovery in most of the major ecosystems. Main problem being only top 25 or 50 developers make money out of it. And the issue is that most of the apps are actually in the crowd somewhere. They don't even come up to the top level. So what we did when we created SmartWatch, we didn't want these extensions to be in that crowd itself. But we still wanted it to be easily downloadable from the Google Play. So we found a way to actually put a tag in all the apps in the description. And whenever we recommend all the developers who make an extension to put that tag in, and that tag is searched on the Smart Connect here, as I've shown you. That the first screen is the Smart Connect screen, and when you click on SmartWatch, the second screen is that what comes up, and you can directly look for the applications that are related to SmartWatch on the Google Play Store. So we kind of solved 2 problems here. First one being that extensions are never lost in the crowd. They're always on the device. Whomsoever has a smartwatch, they would always have the Smart Connect, and they would be able to find the applications easily. So you don't have to keep finding the application, okay, this one has a smartwatch extension or not. So, and it has helped a lot of developers to monetize because they were early on the smartwatch extension system. So we still don't have like huge amount of applications, and we want people to develop for it, but we don't want repeated applications for it. We are expecting newer ideas to come up, with the applications. And we promote them in our channels also, in our marketing channels, in our recommender channels. We promote those extensions regularly. So these are the tags that you can include in your Google Play description in order to know more, in order to be discovered in the application on this screen. So we also feature our developers on our developer world pages. We feature them if they have an innovative application that they did with SmartWatch, which is, So we tend to do a lot of featured posts on the developer world to help them gain momentum. So here it is. SmartWatch is an opportunity. Get on it. And that's me. You can email me if you have questions about SmartWatch, or you have created an extension. You can talk to me about it. You can probably know more about how you can get featured on Developer World. I'm also available on, I answer a lot of queries on Stack Overflow. So if any of you guys are, active there, just put a question there with the SmartWatch tag, and I'll get the email. So this is some applications which have the extension for the SmartWatch. So these are some fitness applications. Endomondo, as I told you, one of them. Google Maps is a pretty good application for SmartWatch. I like that. I personally use it pretty often. Then there are some games. So, any questions?
I have one question. I'm sorry if you explained this earlier and I missed it. But I did see that you said that the watch has a 4-day charge, or the battery has about a 4-day charge.
Yeah.
Is it, how is the watch, how do you charge it? Does it like plug into USB or?
So it actually has a proprietary port beneath it, and it's a proprietary port. It's not a micro USB.
Okay, thank you.
What is the application runtime as far as how long the unit can remain active with the display running, processing data, displaying the user interface over a period of time before really killing the battery?
So as I told you, we have two modes in the software. One is the always on mode, which always shows the time, and the other one is it would only show the time once you tap on it. So always on mode easily goes about 2 days. So I would assume if you are not doing, if it's an app that is not doing too much changes on the screen, I would assume it would go for the same time. It would be
With the
about
display
1.5
on?
2 days. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.